Today, we're going to talk about something that almost everyone wants, but very few people truly understand. And that is money, success, and the habits behind it. Many people believe that rich people are lucky and that they were born with opportunities. But what if the truth is different? What if success is not about luck, but about daily actions that most people ignore or avoid? So here is a strong question to start. Are rich people really different from us? Or do they simply have better habits that they repeat every single day without fail? Wow, that is a deep and important question. And honestly, the answer is not as simple as people think. Rich people are not superhumans, and they do not have special powers, but they do have a different way of thinking and acting. And that makes a huge difference over time. What separates them is not just what they do once, but what they do every day, even when they don't feel like doing it, even when they are tired, bored, or stressed. Many habits of rich people look simple from the outside, but when you try to follow them consistently, you realize that they require discipline, patience, and a strong mindset that most people are not used to. That is interesting because today, especially on social media, we see a lot of advice that looks very easy, like wake up early, read books, or exercise every day. And people think that just doing one of these things will suddenly change their lives. But at the same time, many people try these habits for a few days and then stop. And they feel frustrated because nothing changes. So let me ask you directly, are these popular habits actually useful? Or are they just trends that sound good but don't really work in real life? That is a great point. And the truth is that many of these habits do work, but not in the way people expect. The problem is not the habit itself, the problem is how people understand it and how they apply it in their daily lives. Let's take one of the most famous habits as an example, something that almost everyone has heard about, and that is waking up early. Many successful people, like Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, or Elon Musk, are known for waking up early, very early in the morning, sometimes at 4 a.m. or sometimes at 5 a.m. And because of that, many people believe that waking up early is the secret to success. But here is the reality: waking up early is not magic, and it is not going to make you rich by itself. What really matters is what you do with those extra hours. Because if you wake up early and then waste your time on your phone, scrolling on social media, or doing nothing important, then waking up early has no value at all. However, if you use that time to think, plan your day, learn something new, or work on your goals without distractions, then that habit becomes extremely powerful. Because mornings are usually quiet and your mind is fresh. and focused. So, what you are saying is that the habit is not just about the action, but about intention behind the action and how you use that time in a smart way. But let me challenge you a little bit because many people are not morning people. They feel tired, they work late, or they simply cannot wake up early consistently. So, does that mean they cannot be successful? No, not at all. And this is where many people misunderstand this habit and feel discouraged. Success is not about copying exact routines from other people. It is about understanding the principle behind the habit and adapting it to your own life. The real habit is not wake up early. The real habit is create focused, distraction free time to work on what matters most. I repeat, create focused, distraction free time to work on what matters most. And you can do that in the morning, in the afternoon, or even at night, depending on your energy and your lifestyle. Ah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I think many people feel relieved hearing that because sometimes these habits feel too extreme or unrealistic. But now, I want to ask you something more personal. Have you ever tried this habit by yourself? Waking up early, and if you did, what happened? Did it really change your life? Or was it just another experiment that didn't work? Yes, I tried it many times, and I had different experiences. And this is important because people need to understand that not every habit works the same for everyone. There was a time in my life when I woke up at 5 a.m. every day for almost 2 months. And at the beginning, it felt amazing. I had more time, I felt productive, and I was very motivated. But after a few weeks, I started to feel tired because I was not sleeping enough, and my energy during the day started to drop. So I realized that waking up early without sleeping well is actually harmful. So I adjusted the habit. And instead of forcing myself to wake up very early, I focused on improving my sleep and creating a clear routine during the day. And that worked much better for me. This is something that many people don't talk about. They show the habit, but they don't show the mistakes, the adjustments, and the reality behind it. That is very honest. And I think people need to hear that more often because sometimes we only see the success stories, but not the struggles behind them. Now, let's move to another habit, and this is one that is very popular, but also very misunderstood, and that is reading books. Oh, reading books. Yes, reading is one of the most common habits among successful people. And many famous individuals like Warren Buffett have said that they spend many hours every day reading books, reports, and information. At first, this sounds simple, and many people think, okay, I will just read 10 pages a day. But the real challenge is not reading. The real challenge is consistency and focus. Because in today's world, people are easily distracted by their phones, notifications, and entertainment. And also, many people say they don't have time to read, or they feel bored, or they start a book and never finish it. So, is reading really necessary to become successful? Or is it just something that works for some people but not for everyone? That's a great question. And again, we need to understand the principle behind the habit. Reading is not important because of the act itself, but because of what it gives you. And that is knowledge, ideas, and new ways of thinking. When you read, you are basically learning from other people's experiences without making the same mistakes yourself. And that can save you years of time and effort. However, reading without applying what you learn is almost useless because knowledge without action does not create results. So basically, reading can be powerful, but only if you use that information in real life. Otherwise, it becomes just another passive activity that makes you feel productive but doesn't really change anything. Exactly. And this is one of the most common mistakes people make, not just with reading, but with many habits. They consume a lot of information, they watch videos, they read books, they listen to podcasts, but they don't take action. And without action, nothing changes. In fact, too much information without action can create confusion and stress because you feel like you should be doing something, but you don't know where to start. Wow, that is powerful. And also a little uncomfortable because I think many people can relate to that. But I like where this is going because we are not just talking about habits, we are really analyzing them, questioning them, and understanding what works and what doesn't. What I really like of this conversation is that we are not just repeating popular advice. We're actually breaking it down and asking if it truly works or not. And I think that is what people need today. Because there is too much information and not enough clarity. So now I want to go deeper. I want to talk about habits that are more extreme, habits that sound crazy, habits that some people follow and others completely reject. Are there habits that rich people do that might look ridiculous but actually work? Yes, absolutely. And this is where things get really interesting because not all habits of successful people are comfortable or normal. Some of them are very intense, and if you don't understand them correctly, they can even be dangerous. Let's talk about one that is common, very common in high performers, and that is obsession with work. Many famous people, like Elon Musk, have openly said that they work 80 to 100 hours per week, which sounds extreme and even unhealthy for most people. And the truth is, it can be unhealthy if you don't manage it correctly. But here is the key point: these people are not just working more, they are deeply focused on something they believe in. And that creates a level of energy and motivation that is very different from someone who works long hours in something they hate. But let me be honest, for many people, that sounds like a nightmare, not a dream, because working that many hours can destroy your health, your relationships, and your mental peace. So, is this really a habit we should copy? Or is it something that only works for a small group of people? That's a very important question. And the answer is that this is not a habit for everyone, and it should not be copied blindly. The real lesson here is not work all the time, but find something that gives you energy and purpose. Because when you care deeply about what you do, you naturally spend more time on it without feeling forced. However, balance is still necessary, and many successful people later in life admit that they sacrificed too much. So this habit has both positive and negative sides. So again, it's not about copying the extreme version, but understanding the reason behind it and adapting it in a healthy way. Now, let's move to another habit. And this one is very interesting because it looks simple, but it is actually very difficult to do consistently. And that is saving and investing money. You're right. This is one of the most powerful habits and also one of the most ignored. Many wealthy people, like Warren Buffett, are known for being very careful with money, even though they have billions. This might sound surprising because people think that rich individuals spend a lot, but many of them are actually very disciplined when it comes to saving and investing. But this is where many people struggle because saving money sounds easy in theory, but in real life, there are bills, responsibilities, and also the desire to enjoy life, to buy things, to travel, to feel good. So, how can someone balance saving money and still enjoy their life? That's a challenge. And this is where most people fail. Not because they don't earn enough, but because they don't manage what they have. A simple but powerful idea is this: don't spend what is left after saving. Save first, and then spend what is left. This small change can completely transform your financial life over time. But again, it requires discipline, and discipline is something that many people avoid because it feels uncomfortable in the short term. And I think this is where many people make excuses. They say, I will start saving next month or when I earn more money. But that moment never comes. So, could you say that this habit is more about mindset than money? Exactly. It is more about mindset than income. I have seen people with high salaries who are always broke, and people with normal incomes who build wealth slowly but consistently. The difference is not how much they earn, but how they think and how they act with money every single day. That is powerful and also a little uncomfortable because it removes the excuses. Now, I want to talk about something that many people don't expect, and that is Failure. Because we often see success, but we don't see the failures behind it. Is failure actually a habit? Or at least part of the process? Failure is not exactly a habit, but how you react to failure can become a habit. And that is what makes the difference. Many successful people, like Oprah Winfrey, faced rejection, problems, and difficult situations before achieving success. The key is that they did not stop. They learned, adjusted, and continued. But that is very hard because when people fail, they feel embarrassed, they lose confidence, and sometimes they stop trying completely. So, how can someone build a habit of learning from failure instead of being destroyed by it? It starts with changing how you see failure. Instead of seeing it as something negative, you see it as feedback, as information that helps you improve. Of course, it is not easy, it takes time, and it takes emotional strength. But this is one of the most important differences between people who succeed and people who give up. Wow, we have talked about simple habit, difficult habits, extreme habits, and even uncomfortable truth. And I think one thing is clear: success is not about one magic habit. It is about a combination of actions, mindset, and consistency over time. Exactly. And if I can leave you one message, it could be this: don't try to copy everything you see, don't try to become someone else. Instead, take these habits, understand them, and adapt them to your reality. Start small, stay consistent, and most importantly, take action, because without action, nothing changes. I love that. And I want to add something for everyone listening right now. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. You don't need to read 50 books this year. And you don't need to work 100 hours a week. But you need to start. Even if it's something small, even if it feels uncomfortable, because that is where change begins. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to follow this podcast, share it with someone who needs motivation, and start applying at least one habit from today. Just one, but do it consistently, because that is how real change happens. And now I want to ask you something, and I really want you to think about it. Which habit do you think is the most powerful? And which one feels the most difficult for you to follow? And why? I repeat, which habit do you think is the most powerful? And which one feels the most difficult for you to follow? And why? That answer can tell you a lot about where you are right now and where you need to go. Take care.